remember one where the stated income was $100,000 and the actual income was $25,000.
Wow.
And I would say that's not unusual. We've seen stated income is double or more.
Project Sentinel in Sunnyvale, and you have one of 5. This is one of 5 locations.
Right. Project Sentinel is a nonprofit corporation that emphasizes housing issues, and we have 5 working offices in Northern California.
How long have you been with Project Sentinel?
I'm the director for the mediation and housing counseling programs, and I've been in that job for about 7 years. We've seen the rental market go up and then burst, and now it's going back up again. We've seen the housing market go through the current boom and bust that we're experiencing. We're almost always busy though, regardless of where the housing market is, because the pressure for housing in the Bay Area never ends. So the real issue is people who bought homes at 100 or 125% financing, so there was never any equity or down payment, and those people faced with the inability to refinance because of the falling prices, they're not going to survive any kind of adjustment because we're already over their heads. So whatever the specific interest rate was, any kind of adjustment is going to be the last straw for them. The only people who we see are potentially going to benefit from these various rescue plans are people who were already current, which is of course not the type of people who call us, because they call us when they're already in trouble. So the people who've remained current and have good credit history. And as you sort of alluded to, the FHA limits in this area are unrealistically low. So if they're only going to bail people out to something like the FHA limits, few, if any, people in this area will be held.
And do you really think, though, part of our concerns are there's twofold, and one is the anti-deficiency protection. I think it's California Civil Code 580B as far as the purchase money versus the refinance. So I don't know if these modifications revoke that deficiency protection that the California statute provides, or are these then, if it was a purchase money loan, are some of these borrowers just better off letting it go because we could see a continued decrease in price, and then if they need to refinance or sell for job transfer or job loss or whatever in the future, could they have actually hurt themselves by holding on to the property? I think we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, I can't comment on the legal implications of that statute. I think people are in a very difficult set of options here. If they let the house go into foreclosure, that's going to go on their credit record, and it's going to follow them for 7 to 10 years and make it very difficult for them to obtain credit, either in a subsequent home purchase or in other areas. If they try to rescue the house and keep pouring more of their own money in, as you've said, they may ultimately lose the house before the values recover anyway. And those prices were so inflated that it may be a long time, if ever, if some of these prices get back up to where people were buying homes 6 to 8 months ago. So you're faced with trying to hold on to a house where you may never recover your investment, or letting it go and losing it to foreclosure, with the resulting impact on your subsequent history and ability to try again to buy a house. So these people are in very, very difficult straits.
So are you able to help them out much with finding replacement property or a rental property then at that time when they do?
Well, we, as a separate service, we have what are called below market rate rental information lists, and we can point people towards the subsidized rental housing or below market rate housing opportunities that are available, but those opportunities were already much smaller than the number of renters who wanted those kind of rental opportunity. So people coming back out of the homeownership market trying to also access those properties are just going to further overwhelm the limited number of spaces that are available. And the other thing that's happening, in my view, primarily because of the job market, but also to some extent because of the collapse of the home buying market, the rental market prices have definitely been going up for at least a year, and I would expect they will continue to increase. So right now to try to find a rental is going to be much more expensive than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it sort of exacerbates the whole problem for these foreclosed, displaced homeowners. So would you say the majority of the loans or the people that you see here, were they did they receive loans under stated income guidelines?
We see a lot of that. The abuses were loans were made under stated income, loans that were made, at 120% of value, loans with, unrealistic, arms that were going to reset. All of these factors, and sometimes more than one in the same loan, pretty much from any kind of objective standpoint would have doomed the buyer from the start.
Yeah, no, I actually wrote in to the regulators, the agencies, the FDIC and OTS about that risk layering with the option arms. Do you see many people on the option arm program, or have those yet to really recast?
I think everyone's predicting we're going to start to see those. So far, we've just seen a traditional arms reset, for people who bought at subprime levels. But everyone knows the option arms at the prime or closer to the prime level are going to start to come home too. Everybody was betting on the prices continuing to increase. And anybody who bet on that is, of course, now finding themselves on the wrong end of that bet.
Do you see any consistency with a particular lender, or is it just all across the board as far as these?
I think that the lenders as a group have not, so far to our experience, been that much open to modifications despite the publicity. We've seen lenders be more willing to delay actual foreclosure and give people more time in the house, in part because I'm not sure that it's very useful for them to take these properties back anyway, and then it hurts their own security ratings by doing it. But modifications for these people who don't have significant equity in the home are still, in our experience, pretty rare. I mean, we're a HUD certified housing counseling agency, like Acorn, like Echo in the Bay Area. There are about 4 or 5 of us in the Bay Area. And we all operate under the same principles, which is, we look at these from a neutral point of view. We look at the options that are available based on the specifics of the particular mortgage and the particular family, and try to advise or counsel and negotiate whatever options we think are viable for them. Individual counselors for first-time home buyers. Of course, now, one of the ironies is that the lenders have tightened up so much that people who might well be legitimate purchasers are now having trouble finding financing. But we work with a lot of city programs that offer first-time home buyer what's called below market rate purchase opportunities, like the city of Sunnyvale. So those programs are still going forward. But in all of those programs, the buyer still has to find somebody willing to finance the purchase.
Yeah.
There's Cal FHA money, and there is some set-aside money to help these people. But still there has to be some financing ultimately.
If you were to make any recommendations to borrowers who are facing trouble now, what would those recommendations be? And then if you had any requests of HUD.
Collapse of the mortgage industry, like we've been discussing, has been located in sort of limited areas in the Bay Area, particularly in the areas where the housing prices are lower. So East San Jose, East Palo Alto, Redwood City, those are the places where the majority of foreclosures or notices of default are showing up.